everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am Noor from Bookish Noor, and thank you so much for joining me in another video. 2015 is going to an end in a few hours and 2016 is coming around. So let's just do a 2015 book wrap up. I didn't read a lot of books this year because I only started BookTube and only read very actively after October. So I don't really counted how many books that I have read this year, but either way, I am going to share with you guys the 12 books that I really enjoyed this year. So the first book in this whole pile is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, and I did a wrap up for this book. I'll just link it down below and at the woobly doobly over here. So this book is a sci-fi book, and it's basically about this man named Charlie Gordon who has low IQ, and one day he participated in an experiment to increase his IQ, and basically he has to write all these reports about his experience before the experiment and after the experiment. And at the same time, there was also a mouse who went through the same experiment, and Charlie is basically friends with Algernon. I really enjoyed this book because it really talks about ethics and morality in experiments, and it's really heartbreaking at the same time because for someone who has low IQ all the while and going through life getting made fun of, and after the procedure, things start changing and he realized that his friends are actually not really his friends, and he had to face the reality of it. This is a really heartbreaking book. It's really good. I highly recommend you guys if you guys are a fan of sci-fi. Next book is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, and I talked this a lot in my book review. I will link it down below and also at the woobly doobly again. And I also talk about this in the wrap up. And if you guys haven't known about Anne Frank, she's basically a Jewish girl who lived during the Nazi occupation, and her family went into hiding in Amsterdam in Netherlands. And basically when she was hiding, she had this diary where she writes all her experiences and the accounts that happened in the secret annex to the hiding place. I can't stress this so much because this is such a good book. It's non-fiction, so it's a very good reference to start when you want to read about World War II or about the Nazi occupation. I think this is a very interesting book, mainly because Anne Frank is 13 years old and she's very young at the point of time, but she writes matters that are really thought-provoking, and for someone who's 13 years old, you just couldn't imagine why or how you would have that thoughts, but maybe because circumstances made her have those thoughts in her head. So that is a really interesting thing. So yes, I highly recommend you guys if you guys are into World War II, and if you guys like non-fiction, highly recommend. And the next book is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, and I read this earlier this year and it's really fantastic. I really love it. Basically it tells the story of this boy with autism, and one day he found out that his neighbor's dog got murdered or got killed in a sense. So he went on to this extensive investigation on who murdered the dog and what is the motive behind it, and I think it's very interesting. I like the narrative style. The most interesting part is that the chapters are in prime numbers, so that's one of the things that I kind of noticed when I start reading this. It's very clever. The main character, Christopher, is autistic, so he is very smart and intelligent in that sense. It's really interesting and funny at the same time, so I highly recommend you guys to read if you guys are interested in books that deals with autism. It reminds me of the book Wonder by R.J. Palacio, if you guys have read it, so it's something like this, so highly recommend. The next book is Neil Gaiman, Neverwhere, and this is my first Neil Gaiman book, and boy oh boy, it's really interesting. I've never read anything from Neil Gaiman before, and I didn't know how his tone of writing is actually, but Neverwhere is a little bit dark. I would say it's a little bit peculiar in a sense, which I like. I like it so much. There's some sort of magical realism in this book, and I really like magical realism. I enjoyed it a lot. Basically this story is about this man named Richard Mayhew who went to London, and basically he was living a perfectly normal life until one day he helped a stranger, which led him to go into this world that he had never explained. So that is really interesting. I love the writing style. I will definitely read this over again, and I will definitely explore more Neil Gaiman in the future. So yes, this is my another favorite. And next one is Life After Life by Atkinson, and this is a very surprising book for me. I did a wrap-up video for this too, so I will just link it down below and you can check it out. So basically this is about this girl who is able to reincarnate and go through life all over again, and every single time she goes through life she have a different outcome in a sense. But the thing is, she doesn't remember her past life, so she only feels like it's a deja vu, but it's technically not a deja vu because she has went through that. And this sets in World War II. This book is really gripping. I know the front part is a little bit draggy and so not many people continued this book, but I really recommend you guys trying out this book. It's really surprising. There are lots of scenes that are gripping and it gets better towards the end of the book. So yes, I really enjoy this. It reminds me of the first 15 lives of Harry August. I am reading that currently. It's something like this, but it's a little bit different in a way. So yes, I really highly recommend if you are into World War II, into reincarnation. This one is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. I read this in the beginning of the year. This is, I think, most of everyone's favorite. I like Mitch Albom. I read most of his books already, except for a few newer ones. I haven't read that yet. It's about this man named Eddie who basically he has been lonely all his life, and then he died in a tragic accident in the fair. He woke up and he realizes that he is in heaven, and he met 5 people that he met in heaven which somehow affected his life on earth. Basically, Mitch Albom likes to write about religion or about life-changing stories about faith. So that's the reason why I like this book. It really made you think and appreciate your life, and then it made you wonder whether or not you have been doing the right things in life, whether or not you are pursuing what you want to do in life. And sometimes the things you do in life or the things that happen in life, there's always a reason behind it. That is why I enjoy this book a lot. It's so good. I really recommend you guys, of course. The next book is Totto-Chan, The Little Girl at the Window, and I did a book review on this, the first few videos that I did in my channel, so check that out. I really enjoy this book a lot. It is about this girl whose name is Totto-Chan, and she went into this school where all these classrooms are actually trains, and it's being located at railroads, and the school system is really different. And this is actually a memoir of Tetsuko Kuroyanagi. So she went to that school. I really enjoyed it. If you like teaching, if you are a teacher, or if basically you are interested in education, then this is a really good book to read. And the next book is I Am the Messenger by Markus Zusack, and I read this in the beginning of the year too. And basically, if you don't know who's Markus Zusack, I'm pretty sure you know. Markus Zusack is the guy who wrote The Book Thief. Basically, this is his first book, I think, and this book is basically about this guy named Ed who's living a normal life all his while being a cab driver, until one day he managed to stop a robbery, and then suddenly things happen. He starts receiving cards in his mail, and the first is actually an ace, and then sooner or later he learns that he has to be a messenger to somebody. He has to go and pass that message to that person that he's assigned to. So this is really interesting because in the beginning you have no idea what was going on, who is behind all this, and there's just a little bit kind of mystery behind it. This is a really great book. It really teaches you on, again, living your life and how you want to live it. Yes, so I highly recommend you guys, if you guys have read Markus Zusack's The Book Thief, then you should read I Am the Messenger. I really enjoyed this. I like his writing style. It's really funny. And the next book is The Golem and the Genie by Helene Wecker, and I did a book review too on this. Check the link down below. I love this so much. It's basically magical realism, and it's about this, basically this golem is being created, and her master died when she was going to New York, and she had to live without a master, and the genie is being freed from this copper container which has been living in for thousands of years. What I like about this book is because of their unlikely friendship. It's a really beautiful book. It's beautifully written. If you have read The Night Circus, then you should definitely read this. There are some elements in that Night Circus that is found in this. There aren't a lot of weird magic, but it is still magical in a sense, and it's very, very fascinating, so definitely highly recommended. So the next book is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I also mentioned this in a book wrap-up. I love this so much. I read A Thousand Splendid Suns a few years back, and this and then I picked up the Kite Runner. I've watched the movie and it's really fantastic. Kite Runner is basically about these two boys who grew up in Kabul, and they grew up flying kites and going through childhood together until one time the war happened. So basically Amir and his father left Kabul, leaving Hassan and his father behind, and from then their friendship kind of grew apart. And a few years later, Amir has been contacted by his uncle bearing news about Hassan. Yeah, so this is a very bittersweet story. It's really a story about friendship, about war, about family, and you should just definitely check this out. The next book is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I also did mention this in my recent book wrap up. I love this book so much. I don't read a lot of YA, but I love YA like this, you know, it's adventurous in a sense. And basically, if you don't know what this book is about, it's basically about this boy named Jacob who went back to this island where his grandfather grew up in, trying to find what the family background of his grandfather is after his grandfather's death. So he went on to find where his grandfather grew up, and basically his grandfather grew up in an orphanage, and then when he went to the orphanage he found out that there is a lot more behind the orphanage and what his grandfather is. So it's really interesting. It tells the story of finding yourself, the journey of accepting yourself, the journey of growing up. The writing style is really good. It's Ransom Reed's first book, so it's really good for his first book. There are also pictures in this book which makes everything all more entertaining, very creepy at the same time, so that's really cool. Also, the book just never drags. It just keeps on going like you are going for an epic journey from the beginning until the end. So that's really, really good, really interesting. I just love it. That's all I could say. And the last and final book is of course All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and I just love this so much. I love it like crazy. I did a book review on this on my channel, so just check it in the link down below. What else can I say about this book? It's superb and great. This is a historical fiction, basically about this French girl who is blind and about this German boy who is a Hitler youth soldier, and they met up at Saint Malo because of the war. I love this book a lot because basically it's historical fiction. It's about World War II. I've never read anything that's in the perspective of other countries, so it's really interesting to be reading this in a perspective of a French girl who is also blind at the same time. It also tells about how sometimes circumstances made us do certain things and we don't do everything willingly. For example, this is the German boy. He went into Hitler Youth because he doesn't want to work in the mines back in his town, so he went into Hitler Youth with the prospect that it's better and that he can study more on technology and electricity and work with radios because that's what he likes. I like his writing style. It's really, really fantastic, so you guys should really check this out. If you guys haven't read it, I really highly recommend. So these are all my best reads for 2015. It is so heavy. I'm gonna put it down right now. Oh my god. So tell me what you guys have read during 2015. What are your most favorite reads in 2015? And if you guys like any of these books that I've read, do tell me in the comments down below. I wish you guys all a great happy new year and happy 2016. And I thank you guys for watching my video. Thumbs up my video if you like it, and subscribe to my channel for more book related content. And until then, I will see you guys in my next video, which is in the next year. Happy 2016! It's so heavy. Oh my goodness.